Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back. Today we are going to be having a lot of fun. We're going to be doing some technical things, some blending techniques as far as how to blend paper without acrylics. So you're going to get to see those techniques. And we're working out of these 3 books here. So Maremi's Bits and Bobs Industrial Edition. And that is from Marta Lipkowska, Maremi's Small Art. This is another book that goes with that. It has the Fashionista Personas. And then also Whispers of Industrial Zone. So we're going to be working with those today. So sit back, relax, and let's begin. Now I have already done some work off camera. And I'll give you an idea of what I've done. I've already pre-cut these windows to lift up. And I'll show you what we're going to be doing with these. We're going to embed the moon behind those windows. So I'm going to show you how to get that taken care of. This here was white. But when we open these windows, you're going to see blue. So I used some distressed ink. And the one I used is this one here called Speckled Egg. And it's almost a blue jean color. And what I did to get a softness to it is I used a cotton ball. This took me over an hour to do both sets. That's why I did it off camera. Because I wanted to see how the paper took that much distressed ink and if I could get a softness to it. And I was able to accomplish that. I also took some of the blue down in here. This was pure white. So I brought some of the blue down to bring some of those colors back to where they softened. And that's a technique you can use to soften some brightness and bring those colors so you have a more cohesive look. So what I'm going to do is start placement and see exactly where I want my main papers. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and tackle the image of the moon being behind this window. So I've already pre-cut the glass that was here. Or it's actually not the glass. These are the glass doors that are open. This is just the background. But I wanted to leave it intact so you could see the difference between having it intact and removing it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that altogether, so you can see what that looks like. So you can remove elements of your background so that you can get others to show through. So I'm going to clean that up just a little bit. Now these papers are very saturated with ink, so they're much more fragile than they were before. They're not as sturdy, so I do have to remember that. And I'm looking to see, okay, it's exactly what I want it to look like. Okay, So that is with the windows removed. And I'm actually going to take some of this ink and I'm going to get rid of some of the white that's still there so that it's not so glaring. So this is how you can fix where the fussy cutting is not perfect, is put some ink on those areas, and that got rid of those white corners that I wanted to get rid of. Now, to embed the moon behind here, I want the bars of these doors to be present because I want to make it look like the moon is behind. So if I was to put the moon here, the moon would be in front of the doors, not behind. So by placing it behind that wooden side pieces of the door frame, I actually push it back into the background. By tucking it behind this door and this door, it goes even further in the background. So if I put the moon in front of those doors, it does look like it's behind the frame, but then it's right at the doors. So by pushing it back behind those doors, it makes it look like it's farther away. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that moon in place so it doesn't move. So I'm going to place some glue. I'm going to turn it over so I can make sure that moon goes in the right position. Now, I want to pay attention to color and where the pinks and the darks show up. I want that right in the middle right there. I want the pink on this side because there's already some vintage photo colors, some light, dusty, rusty colors. So I want to get away from that for balance. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get this main part down. That way I know how far away from this border it's going to be so the rest of my papers can also match. So I'm going to get the edges down. As you can see, I've already pre-cut part of an element because I'm going to be doing some tuck-ins that's going to allow these pages to meld. Doing tuck-ins is a way to get your pages to blend together without sharp edges. And the reason why I glued only the edges is I want to leave that open for the tuck-in. So what we're going to do now is tuck this in. I'm going to move this over just a tad, but I've got to catch it before it glues down. And these are some things that happen. Move all my other little beautiful elements. Okay, I'm going to move this over just a tad bit. but I want it to be straight. Okay. Now I can look and see if this is going to fit properly. So I usually pre-cut my elements to make sure. And one thing I wanted to do, and you're gonna see how this comes into play later, is I wanted to make sure that this piece lines up with the line in this image here. So if I take it away, you can see there's a line right down here. So I want to move that page in because I'm going to use that line to line up some other images to blend these pages so they don't look so sharp and abrupt. So what I want to do is get this piece down now that I've got the moon in place exactly where I want her. I'm going to do that. So this particular page has taken me 2 days to engineer, to find the images, to play with the distressed inks. To come up with a storyline, and there is a storyline. Now I do want this page to line up perfectly with this page at the bottom. And I've got to work quickly because my glue is very unforgiving when it comes to moving images. It's a very strong glue. So before I get away and forget, I'm going to address this blue background. And I'm going to be using my white gel pen, my Jelly Roll from Sakura. And I'm just going to add some white. Stars. I'm going to add some white onto the moon as well to make it look very starry. I didn't want to forget to do that. And sometimes when you get involved with the bigger pieces, you can forget the details of the smaller. Okay, now I have worked some of this out somewhat. You guys are going to get to see me do the rest of the working out. I'm getting my big pieces down. And this is a little cutie we're going to be using. And she's got another big cutie that we're going to be using. I've already done some vintage photo around the edges. Normally with a blue background like this, I would want to use the black soot. This one I wanted to have a more old feel, a more vintagey feel, rather than the black. Okay. All right. Now, I've got this little beauty right here. I've got this little beauty. But before I put that little beauty, I want to get him and decide where I want him to be. Let me get this little piece down that's still wanting to pop up. Okay. Now I've got to decide what I want, where I want this bird to be. And I want to put him on top of this circle here. I do want his tail feathers to fall away off of that border. But I see a little bit of white I want to get rid of because it's glaring. But I don't want to cut his tail feathers too much. It's very difficult because this piece is so flimsy. Okay, there we go. So I want him to be sitting on top of this circle here. And I want his tail feathers to be off the border on purpose. But I've also got to decide a future tuck-in up here. All right, so let me get her stationed. She's going to be standing on one of the wheels. And I'm going to show you how we get away with that in just a moment. But before that, we've got these clouds coming out from these gears. And when I get done, you're going to see exactly why we've done it. So I want to cut away this wheel right here so that I can put the clouds underneath like they're coming out from the gears. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to poke a hole right somewhere here with my scissors. And then I'm going to cut away. Let me find my original hole. I'm going to cut away this area right here along the border of the wheel. I'm going to actually start this right here too. It's going to be a lot easier for me to see it. Okay, so now that wheel is cut away, now I can tuck something in underneath it. So he's going to be here. This cloud is going to go here underneath. He's creating clouds. I love how this is fitting right in that little crook that was already created from when I cut it. So the clouds are coming up over this pole, which makes it look more believable that these clouds are coming out and over. So that's something that you can achieve by putting images in and around other images. So now that I've got him where I want him, I'm going to go ahead and glue him down. And I'm going to leave the cloud embedded because I want to keep it right there. I want him right on top of that circle. I'm going to move him in just a tad. So this is what can happen when things are being a little bit finicky. So these clouds are coming out from underneath these gears, and that's exactly what I wanted it to look like. He's creating those clouds. Okay. Now I want to get this little beauty. Now she has a watering can, but as you can see, it was so fragile that as I was working with it, it ended up breaking off. But that's okay, because I'm going to show you how we're going to reattach it. Okay, so she's going to be on this gear right here. She's going to be standing here. And the reason why her feet are separated is because she had a small white bit in there that I couldn't get to really good with the scissors. So Marta has shown this before. she has told us that in order to get the little white bits in between the legs, you can separate the feet and then cut that out. And then when you glue it back down, the feet go back together. So that's what I did there. That's why her feet are separated. I'm gonna get his tail feathers down. So she's going right here on this wheel. We're going to give her back her watering can. So this is what you can do when things fall apart. Just reattach them. And I've got glue all over my fingers. Now our watering can is tilted. And these little small dainty parts are so hard sometimes to get to behave. I'm going to put some more glue down right over here and try to coax that back in to position. Okay, so this is her watering can here. Now what I want to do, because her watering can is now hidden in those gears, I want to give it some dots. And give it some water. She's pouring out her water from the watering can. And I can bring it all the way down even to here. That way it melds these pieces together. Okay. Now we're going to decide where this beauty is going to go. But before I do that, I want to make sure I address where her feet are. Because if you look, she looks like she's floating on the top of that gear. Now, how you can get it to where she's not floating is you can ground her feet. So that's what we're going to do before I forget. I want to pick a gray since this is silver. And a shadow on silver would be gray. If this was the ground, the shadow would be brown. So I'm going to ground her feet so it looks like she's really standing on those gears. And I'm just giving it a shadow. Just light. Not straight. Now she's got a shadow where it looks like she's really standing on those gears. Okay. Now I want to decide where I want this little beauty, because it looks like she's floating in midair. So I have to decide what I want to do with her. But before I do that, I want to get this beauty on here. Now, remember I told you about that line earlier? So what I want to do is I want to position this faucet, this butterfly faucet, right on that line where the water dripping follows that line exactly, because we're going to use the jelly roll to continue that dripping of the faucet. So let me get him down. Right on that line. Now let's see. No, this is down, so I'm gonna go up over it. If this was able to be lifted up, I would have put the clouds over part of his wing, which is something you can do. But it doesn't look bad with the clouds behind his wing. So now that we've got the water dripping, I'm going to use some white to highlight this water coming out. This drop. And continue on both sets of papers the water line. Not only is that going to hide the line that was there, but it melds those two pieces together. And you don't want to do straight, perfectly in sync white lines, because that's not how water runs. Water's got some shading to it. Let me see if I can't get my jelly roll to go. It's wanting to be finicky. I don't think it's out of ink. Okay, there it goes. It's fairly brand new. Maybe that is the end of my jelly roll. No, there it goes. I think what it is the glue on these pages is keeping it from running exactly as I want it to. It's the glue that's not wanting this gel to run, but it's got enough on there, and I'll lift that up so you guys can see that. So you see how we actually hit a line of two papers coming together? That's something you can actually do. Okay. Now, I do want to make sure this jelly roll is going to work, because I do need it one more time. So now we've got this little cutie. And you know what? I'm going to actually take her outside this border and plant her feet on the edge to add some wonderful detail and some interest in bringing the collage, like his tail, outside its borders. I did do some vintage photo on her edges as well. I'm gonna get her feet down. And then I'm gonna get these clouds down as well. And then we'll see what else we wanna do. Now, let's see if I can get this jelly roll to behave. So sometimes these are things you deal with. And it may be clogged. There it goes. So the colors on the background are helping this white jelly roll to actually show up. All right, that is it. Now, one thing I did want to show you, since I've got it here, I'm gonna go ahead and take a drink of my water. I'm gonna show you another way, and I've done this in collages before, that you can make clouds. And this is just a cotton ball. And what I usually use is tweezers. So if I hadn't found some clouds, and I'm gonna get this piece down because I don't want him to pop up. If I hadn't found these clouds, you can actually take a cotton ball and just be very strategic in pulling it out. You don't want to totally pull it apart. But you want to pull it so that you've got some fluffiness. And this wispiness is quite all right, because that's exactly what you find in clouds. And just work it with your tweezers. And as you work it, you're going to find it forms a natural shape that looks a lot like a cloud. And again, don't worry about the wispies. That's perfectly all right. As you can see, we've got some. Now what's fun, and I'm going to take a piece of scrap paper. And I'm going to show you guys. You see how all the colors in here? When you use your distressed inks on it, you can get those colors to come out. Now this is the vintage photo. Let me grab the black soot, and then I can show you how to get those grays to come out. And I've done this before, and that's not black soot. That is my green. Here's my black soot. Okay. So I've done this before on my video called The Cloud Town. And you can make it look like stormy clouds on the bottom, just like these have here. You can use your blues along with the black soot. And remember, the darkness on a cloud is always at the bottom or the base of the cloud. So it's never going to be on the top unless it's a full storm cloud. Now, what I want to do is take some of this blue. And this particular dauber that I have is a mixture of black, purple, and blue. I use it for all of these colors. So now I'm going to add some blue in there. And this is that blue jean color, that speckled egg. And you just work it until you get it to the consistency that you want it to be. I'm going to change out my dauber, cover this up, and get some more vintage photo on this guy right here. So just play with your distressed inks. And do a little bit of brown on the top edges here. You can do some pinks, make it look almost sunsetty. And then what you can do is pull out more white on top, because your white is going to be more on top than your vintage photo, because that is where the light hits it, the light from the sun. So there is a cloud, and you can put it anywhere. You can put it in the sky. I was thinking to put it over here, but when I found these clouds that Marta had done, I said, oh, these work out better. So let me show you. So you can take clouds and you can put them behind an image, which is what I did in the cloud town, as I put them all around the houses. And you can stretch it out. Stretch this out. Stretch it out down here. Just play with it. Stretch it out across your sky. Play with it by pulling more of it out. You can have holes where you see part of your background. It works out really well. And I wanted to go ahead and show you guys that while I had the cotton out. So there she is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Rainmakers. And I hope you have enjoyed this project today. I had so much fun coming up with a concept and building it. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. For those of you who have a 3-day weekend, I hope you enjoy. And I will see you on the next one.